There are things you should never see. Things that once seen alter the way you perceive reality itself. I know this because I saw something I should never have witnessed. And now, 15 years later, I still wake up in the dead of night with the smell of sandalwood and sulfur burning in my nostrils. My name is Thomas Weaver, and in 2010 I was a 32-year-old Jesuit priest, freshly ordained, full of faith and conviction. But that spring, when I received the phone call from Father Miguel Cordero, everything I believed in began to crumble. "Thomas, I need you here in Santa Fe. Now." His voice was hoarse, like he hadn't slept in days. "What happened, Miguel?" "Something I can't explain over the phone. Something the Vatican needs to know about, but maybe shouldn't know about." I caught the first flight to New Mexico. Miguel picked me up at the airport. When I saw him, I was shocked. He'd lost at least 20 pounds. His eyes were sunken, with dark purple circles that looked like bruises. "Are you okay?" "No, and you won't be either after today." We drove for 2 hours through the desert to an isolated adobe house in the middle of nowhere. The windows were covered with heavy curtains, no lights on. "Where are we?" I asked. "A family's home, the Martinezes. They have a daughter, Clara, 17 years old." He paused. "And she's not herself anymore." As when I stepped out of the car, I smelled it. Sandalwood mixed with something putrid like rotting meat. And then I heard it, a low sound coming from inside the house. It wasn't human. Too deep, too resonant. The front door was unlocked. The hallway reeked of urine and mold. The lights flickered erratically. "Are the parents here?" "They ran 3 days ago, said they couldn't take it anymore." "And they left their daughter?" Miguel stopped and looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. "Thomas, after you see what I've seen, you'll understand why they ran." At the back of the house, there was a door secured with 3 deadbolts. Miguel began unlocking them. With each bolt that slid open, that low moan grew louder. "Is she restrained?" "Yes, and even so." He opened the door. The girl was bound to an iron bed frame with chains around her wrists and ankles. Her body was emaciated, her skin pale and mottled. But the worst part was her eyes, completely black. Not just the pupils, the whites were gone. Deep scratches covered her entire body. Dried blood stained the sheets. And then she smiled. "Hello, Thomas." The voice was hers, but also wasn't. It had layers, multiple voices speaking simultaneously. "Miguel told me about you. Said you still had faith. How do you know my name?" She tilted her head at an impossible angle. "I know many things, Father. I know you lost your mother when you were 12. I know you still dream about her begging for help. And I know you're starting to wonder if God really gives a damn." Miguel pulled me out and slammed the door shut. "Now do you understand why I called you? How long has she been like this?" 11 days. At first it was just strange behavior. Then she started speaking languages she didn't know. Aramaic, Latin, something that sounded like Sumerian. He lifted his shirt. There were burn marks on his chest, shaped like handprints. She touched me and burned me. "Did you try an exorcism?" "I tried, alone, for 3 days. Miguel, we need help. We need to call the bishop or the Vatican." "No," he cut me off. "We can't call anyone, because this has happened before." He grabbed an old folder filled with yellowed newspaper clippings. All of them told similar stories. Young girls possessed, claiming to be pregnant. All died during the exorcisms. The priests too. And the Vatican buried it all, like it never happened. That night we attempted the exorcism ritual. Holy water, prayers, laying on of hands, but nothing worked. Clara stopped laughing. She went still. For a moment I thought we'd succeeded. Then she opened her eyes. Blue. Human. "Father Miguel." Her voice was soft, fragile. "Help me. Please, he's hurting me. Clara, are you there? I'm trapped. He won't let me go." "Who, Clara?" "The Sandman. He comes every night, and he shows me things that are going to happen." And then she screamed. A scream that made the windows rattle. When it stopped, her voice changed again. "You don't understand. She's not possessed. She's pregnant." Miguel and I froze. Pregnant with something that shouldn't exist. And in 3 days, it will be born. We left the room. Miguel grabbed a bottle of whiskey and handed me a glass. 5 days ago, I called a doctor. He did an ultrasound. He showed me the images. At first, it looked like a normal fetus, but the spine was too long. And there was something in the head region, like horns. The doctor said he'd never seen anything like it, and he ran. Do the parents know? They know. The mother swore Clara was a virgin. I sat in silence, processing everything. We need help. No, because this has happened before, and whoever tries to help dies. At 3 in the morning, I heard footsteps. Miguel wasn't in the hallway. Clara's bedroom door was ajar. He was inside, standing, staring at her. His eyes were wide. Clara was whispering something to him. Miguel! I shook him. What was she saying? She said she knows my sins, all of them. I looked back. Clara was lying down again, but there was a smile on her face. And that's when I understood. We weren't exorcising her. She was exorcising us. The next morning, we tried the ritual again, but nothing worked. With every prayer, Clara, or whatever was inside her, laughed. And then she spoke with a man's voice, deep, ancient. Miguel Cordero, the priest who let a woman die in Juarez because he was too drunk, who stole money from the collection plate, who touched a 14-year-old girl. Miguel stepped back, dropping the crucifix. That's not... Want me to continue? Want me to tell Thomas here all your lies? I looked at Miguel, shocked. Clara turned her attention to me. And you, Thomas Weaver, want me to talk about the night your mother died? How you prayed for God to save her? And how he did nothing? The voice grew softer. You became a priest thinking you could understand why he took her, but you didn't. And now you're starting to wonder if he's even real. Stop. Why don't you ask him? Why don't you demand answers? Go on, pray. Ask him to show up. Miguel pulled me out. We need to stop. This is beyond us. We can't. If we give up, she'll die, and whatever's inside her will be born. I walked into the desert, trying to pull myself together. That's when I found the footprints. They started outside Clara's bedroom window, bare footprints but too large, with claw marks. I followed them for almost half a mile until they simply vanished. When I got back, Miguel was in the kitchen with a nearly empty bottle. I found footprints, starting at her window. I know. They appear every night, always leading to the desert. So, something's coming to her. Yes, and I think it's the father of the baby. That night, we kept watch. At 3 a.m., we heard footsteps outside. Heavy, slow. Miguel grabbed a flashlight and went to the window. There was a figure, tall, very tall, motionless, staring at the house. And then it started moving, gliding across the sand, toward the house. The footsteps continued, closer, and then they stopped. Dead silence. The front door opened by itself, a slow creak as if pushed by a breeze, but there was no breeze. Miguel walked toward the living room, crucifix raised. When we got there, the door was wide open. Nobody there. Miguel took steps toward the open door. Then we heard it. Laughter. Female. Coming from inside the house. From Clara. She's not alone up there. Miguel started up the stairs. The bedroom door was closed, completely shut. Miguel pushed. The door wouldn't budge. It's locked. But there's no lock. Miguel threw his shoulder against it. On the third try, the door gave way. Clara was on the floor, at the center of a circle scrawled in blood. Black candles burned at each point. She was motionless, her back to us. The walls were covered in symbols, and on the ceiling a word in Latin repeated hundreds of times, vocavi. I have called. Clara began to laugh. It wasn't just laughter. It was a cacophony of voices. You're too late, priests. She's already invited me. Clara turned. Her eyes were completely black, and her mouth was stretched in an impossible smile. She's mine now, and you're the next guests. Miguel backed up, the crucifix trembling in his hand. He began reciting, In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Clara hissed. The windows exploded. Wind rushed in like a storm, snuffing out all the candles and plunging the room into darkness. Something grabbed me. Cold fingers closed around my ankle and pulled. Miguel! A sudden light filled the room. Miguel had lit a lighter. It was enough for me to see. It wasn't Clara. It was a hand coming out of the floor. The skin was gray, covered in scars. And it wasn't just one. Others were emerging, dozens of them. Get out, now! Miguel pulled me. I fell into the hallway. Miguel slammed the door. From the other side, Clara began to sing, a melody in an unknown language that made my blood run cold. We have to do something. It's not her, not anymore. Miguel was pale. That thing in there was never Clara. What do you mean? I lied to you. From the beginning. What do you mean? Clara isn't my niece. She's not even named Clara. Then who is she? Her name is Lucia. Lucia Moreno. She was my wife. Your wife? Ex-wife. We divorced 3 years ago. She came to me 6 months ago saying she was hearing voices. I didn't believe her. Then she tried to kill herself. And when she woke up in the hospital, she didn't recognize me. The door behind him began to pulse. The wood warped, cracking. We need to get downstairs. We ran down. Miguel rushed to a backpack, pulling out rock salt and an ancient book. We're making a protection circle. Miguel, explain to me what's happening. She's been possessed for 6 months, and I brought her here, away from everyone. He started closing the salt circle. Why didn't you tell me? Because the Vatican doesn't send priests to exorcise ex-wives. The singing stopped. The house fell silent. Then we heard Lucia's voice. Miguel, why did you do that to me? We turned. She stood at the bottom of the stairs, naked, her body covered in cuts. Her eyes were still black, but blood streamed from them. Miguel, why did you hurt me? Miguel backed away. I didn't. Liar. The voice changed. You hurt her. You broke her. And now she belongs to me. What is she talking about? Miguel couldn't take his eyes off Lucia. Tears streamed down his face. I drank, and when I drank, He didn't need to finish. Lucia took a step, stopping at the edge of the salt circle. She looked down and smiled. You think this will stop me? When he already invited me? When he already opened the door with every punch, every scream? And then she stepped on the salt line, and nothing happened. She crossed it like it was common dust. Impossible. I'm not forcing my way in. I was invited, fed by years of pain. I grabbed the crucifix and pressed it against her forehead. In nomine Jesu Christi. Lucia screamed and struck me. I flew backward, hitting the wall. I felt ribs crack. Through blurred vision, I saw Lucia grab Miguel by the throat and lift him into the air. You're going to pay. For every tear, every nightmare. Miguel was dying. I struggled to get up, and then I heard it. A weak voice. Kill me, please. It was Lucia, the real Lucia. Please, kill me. Miguel managed to kick her stomach. He fell to the floor, coughing. I grabbed a book Miguel had dropped. Rituale Romanum complete. I found the page. Exorcismus Maximus Periculi. My eyes raced over the first lines. It wasn't just an exorcism, it was a banishment. But the price. The priest must be prepared to offer his own soul. If he fails, he will be dragged into the abyss. Lucia approached. You don't have the guts, Father. Miguel, get out of the house. I'm not leaving you. Get out. This is her only chance. Miguel hesitated, then began crawling toward the door. Lucia moved to follow him, but I blocked the way. Your fight is with me now. I began to read. The words came out like liquid fire. The book began to glow, pages turning on their own. Lucia screamed, a scream that made the windows shake. She lunged at me, but an invisible barrier stopped her. Exorcizo te omnis spiritus immunde. I felt something inside me begin to be pulled, as if someone was tearing out my soul piece by piece. You're going to die. I know, but this time I'm not running. Lucia fell to the floor, convulsing. Her skin began to crack, black light leaking through the fissures. No, she's mine. She doesn't belong to anyone, she's free. I reached the final line. Et in nomine Jesu Christi, te adiuro, decede. The light exploded, white and pure. It consumed everything. I heard voices, my mother, my brother, and Sarah Jennings, the girl I let die. It's okay, Thomas. You don't have to carry this anymore. I'm so sorry. But you were brave now, and that's enough. The light began to fade. I was on my knees. The book was just ash, and Lucia was there. Not the creature, just Lucia. Her eyes were brown. She was crying. Where am I? Before I could answer, Miguel came running in. He froze when he saw her. Lucia, is it you? She lifted her head, and when her eyes met his, she began to scream, pure terror. No, don't look at him. Miguel froze. Anna, what are you saying? He'll see. He'll know. She pointed behind him at the door. He's always been there, since you arrived. I turned to the door. At first I saw nothing, but then at the edge of the light I saw a silhouette. Tall, motionless. It was a man, or had been. His face was too pale. The eyes were sunken, 2 dark cavities. He wore a worn black suit, but the worst part was his hands, burned, the skin peeling. Father Miguel Reyes. The voice came from everywhere. "It's been a while, old friend. You can't be here. You were banished 15 years ago." The figure smiled. "Sealed? You really believed those words could contain me? Miguel, you didn't seal me, you freed me." Miguel grabbed holy water. "I was there. I saw you expelled." The figure laughed. "You saw what I wanted you to see. You think you're the first? How many exorcists have I fooled?" "What is he talking about?" Lucia was leaning against the wall. "He's telling the truth. The exorcism you performed 15 years ago didn't expel anything. It opened doors." Miguel turned to her. "Anna, you don't know." "I know because I was there, Miguel. 15 years ago, I was the girl you saved." Miguel went completely still. "No, Maria was 8 years old, 23. And yes, I was Maria. Maria Santos, the girl you tied to a chair and prayed over for 3 days until she stopped screaming. Maria is alive. Her father wrote to me, dead, 2 years later, drowned in the river. But you didn't know. I followed the protocols." The figure at the door took a step inside. "You did everything you were taught to do. But who do you think taught your teachers? Who was there at every council, planting little flaws in the prayers?" Miguel fell to his knees. "So, nothing I did mattered. Everyone you saved." Anna paused. "They're dead or insane. I looked for them. 7 exorcisms before mine, 7 victims, all dead. And you want to know what they all had in common? You." The figure was completely inside the house now. "But don't despair, Father. You still have value. Every time you perform an exorcism, you open doors for me. And when enough doors are opened, my brothers and I can finally come home." Miguel lifted his head. "Then kill me. End this." The figure laughed. "Kill you? Why? You're useful alive. Imagine 20 more years of opening doors." "No." "Oh, but you will. Because if you die, who will save Anna?" Everyone looked at Anna. "What did you do to her?" "Me? Nothing. Yet. But you see, Anna is special. She survived. She could be a better vessel." "No," Anna whispered. "Not again. The deal is simple. You kill yourself now and I take Anna immediately, or you keep living, performing your exorcisms, and Anna goes free." "Don't believe him." "Maybe, but that's the beauty of free will. You never know." Miguel stood there frozen, and then Anna moved. She grabbed the flask of holy water and poured it over herself. Her skin began to boil. She screamed, but continued. "If you want me, you'll have to take what's left." The figure hissed, and everything began to shake. "Anna, no! You don't understand. I am the door. I always have been. And the only way to close it is to destroy myself." The figure lunged forward, but when it tried to touch her, its hand smoked. "Foolish." "No, but it'll buy me time." She looked at me. "There's a gun in the drawer under the sink. Get it for me." "Anna, no." "Get it." I ran to the kitchen, found the gun, came back with trembling hands. "Give me the gun. There has to be another way." "There isn't. The door he opened is in me, and the only way to close it is to erase the path." She extended her hand. Miguel was crying. I placed the gun in her hand. "When I do this, the door will start to close, but it'll take time. And during that time, everything will try to pass through. You need to leave now." "I'm not leaving you. You don't have a choice. Please, just go." The figure was howling. "You can't win!" Anna raised the gun, pointing it at her own head. "Maybe, but not today." And she pulled the trigger. The sound echoed. I felt my legs give out. Miguel screamed. But Anna was standing. The bullet had gone through, but she was standing. "Run!" The figure exploded in fury. The house began to collapse. Miguel grabbed me and pulled. We ran out. Behind us, the house began to implode. And from the center, a light began to shine. Something that shouldn't exist. Miguel pulled me behind a boulder. The sound was deafening. And then, everything stopped. Silence. When I looked, the house had disappeared. In its place, there was only a circular hole. And above it, floating, was Anna, or what remained of her. Her body suspended, arms open, and from her mouth, from her eyes, rays of that impossible light poured out, diving into the hole, sealing it. Her form began to disintegrate. Not violently. She simply began to transform into light. And then, with one last flash, everything vanished. The hole was covered, the sand smooth, untouched. Miguel whispered something in Spanish, a prayer. or perhaps a plea for forgiveness. When the sun rose, Miguel finally spoke. She closed the door. But how many others are still open? How many people like her are out there? We returned to the car in silence. We drove for 3 hours to a gas station. The attendant, an old man, watched me. "You came from the desert. How do you know?" He pointed to the mirror. My skin was covered in sand, my eyes bloodshot. But the worst were my hands. There were marks, small burns. "How many days were you out there?" "1 night." He shook his head. "Son, you look like you spent a week in hell." "What day is it today?" "Friday, October 17th. The ground disappeared beneath my feet. When we went in, it was Sunday, October 6th. 11 days. We lost 11 days. The old man nodded. "Didn't lose them. You lived them. You just can't remember." I stumbled out. Miguel was leaning against the car. "It wasn't 1 night, was it? 11 days. We spent 11 days in that house. Then where are the other 8 days? What happened?" The memories began to return. Not complete, just fragments. I'm tied to a chair, in a stone room. Miguel is in front of me, but his eyes are black. Anna is behind him, laughing normally. And that's worse. The house is bigger. There are corridors that didn't exist. Miguel pulls me. "Don't look at the doors." But I look. I see my mother. She died when I was 12, but she's there. "Daniel, why didn't you ever come visit me?" Anna is hanging from the ceiling, defying gravity. Blood drips. "The exorcism wasn't for me. It was for you. You were invited, and now you can't leave. We're around a table. There's food, but it's rotten. Eat. You need to keep your strength up." Miguel picks up the bread. His hands shake. "Forgive me." And he eats. I bring a fruit to my mouth. I feel larvae moving, and I chew. The fragments hit me. I fell to the ground, vomiting. Miguel was beside me, also trembling. We did something during those days. Something terrible. The attendant stood in the doorway. "You need to leave, before the rest of the memories come back, because when they do, you'll understand why that man hanged himself. We can't run from this. Why to carry that weight? There are things that aren't meant to be remembered." Miguel stood up. "He's right, but he's also wrong. If we don't remember, Anna died for nothing. And those doors will still be open." We got in the car. Miguel made a call. It was Father Antonio from the Vatican. "I need to report what happened." "Non parlare." "Don't speak. Where are you?" Miguel gave our location. There was a long pause. "Miguel, you must not speak of this to anyone, understood? People need to know. What we discovered about the exorcisms. Silenzio. There are protocols. There are reasons." "Reasons? People are dying." "I know. We all know. You think you're the first to discover this?" Silence in the car. "You knew? And you let me continue?" It wasn't like that. There are balances that must be maintained. Agreements older than the church itself. "Agreements with whom?" Antonio sighed. "With those who were here first. The church doesn't fight them. We manage. We control. And part of that balance involves sacrifices. Small sacrifices to prevent greater catastrophes. Maria Santos was 8 years old. And how many more would have died if the doors had been opened completely? You've only seen a fraction of what's out there. So you used me. We directed the hunger to specific places, people who were already marked. Better that 10 die than 10,000. And Anna?" Another silence. "Anna was an anomaly. She survived when she shouldn't have, and she began to understand. That's why she had to be neutralized." "Neutralized?" "She sacrificed herself. She closed one of the doors." "Yes, and in doing so she broke the balance. The hunger that flowed through that door needs to find another path, and it will. But this time, it will be chaotic. You're saying Anna saved her soul but condemned others. I'm saying there are reasons we keep these doors open. Terrible reasons, yes, but reasons that save more than they destroy." Miguel hung up, threw the phone on the dashboard. 20 years of my life dedicated to the church, and it was all a lie. What are we going to do? We're going to expose this. Everything, every detail. We're going to drag it into the light. He started the engine, and we left. We drove straight to Rome. 6 hours. Didn't stop. We arrived as the sun was setting. Miguel drove to a nondescript building. No signs. What is this place? The secret archives. This is where they keep what cannot be known. The cases without explanation. The exorcisms that went too far. We entered. No guards. Just darkness and the smell of old paper and copper. Miguel turned on the lights. A long corridor. On each side, doors. Dozens of them, each marked only with numbers. Each door is a case. Exorcisms that revealed things that shouldn't have been revealed. We stopped in front of 1349. This was the first. A monk in Germany. The exorcism lasted 9 days. At the end, the monk was dead, dematerialized. And in the months that followed, everyone who participated died. He opened the door. Inside, files and photographs. Photographs from 1349. Impossible. But there they were. In the first photo, the monk was lying down. But the image was wrong. As if trying to capture something that existed in more dimensions. The body seemed to be in multiple places at once. This is impossible. Yes. And there are hundreds like this. We spent hours going through the archives, and a pattern emerged. Case 1349, Germany, 9 days. Victim dematerialized, 7 participants dead. Case 1523, Spain, 9 days. Victim survived but never spoke again. 3 priests committed suicide. Case 1789, Italy. Exorcism of a cardinal, 9 days. Performed by the Pope himself. On the 9th day, the cardinal spoke in archaic Sumerian, a countdown. When it reached 0, all 7 exorcists dropped dead. The cardinal survived. And 235 years later, he's still alive. Somewhere in the Vatican's underground, in a cell, he's still alive, still counting. Case 1876, Mexico. An entire village. 340 people, 15 exorcists, 9 days. When it ended, the entire village was dead. Animals, plants, insects. The soil turned grey. To this day, nothing grows there. Why 9? What's the significance? Miguel was leafing through an ancient text. 9 is the number of completion, the end of a cycle. 9 angelic choirs. 9 circles of hell. In every mystical tradition, 9 is the number of transformation, of passage. Passage, like a door. Exactly. Miguel pulled out a file dated 12 and 15. Inside was a diagram. The diagram showed layers. Our reality was just a thin line at the top. Below it, other lines. Dozens. Hundreds. All parallel, touching at specific points. Parallel realities? No. Strata. Layers of existence. Our reality is the most superficial. Below are denser, older layers. And 9-day exorcisms open doors to these layers? No, 9-day exorcisms are the doors. The ritual, when performed long enough, punctures, creates a hole, and things can pass through in both directions. He turned the page, a handwritten text in Latin. This text was written by a cardinal in 1215. He had been part of an exorcism. He spent 20 years trying to understand. Miguel translated, "The demons are not inhabitants of hell. They are something older. They existed before creation. They exist in the layers below, pressing, always trying to enter. And they are hungry, not for souls, for experience, for sensation. In their layers, there is no time, no change. There is only being, eternally unchanging. And that is torture for entities that possess consciousness. So when we create a door, they come, and they try to feel, to experience through us, but they don't understand limitations. So they push us beyond our limits until we break. But there's something else. The church knows, always has. And they made an agreement. Certain exorcisms would be performed, doors would be opened, a controlled amount of these entities would be allowed to enter, directed, to individuals already marked, and in return, the entities wouldn't force their way in, wouldn't consume entire cities. It's sacrifice. We sacrifice a few to save many, but we don't call it sacrifice. We call it exorcism, salvation, and it works. The doors remain small. Humanity continues, unaware of the hunger that's always below. But what if someone closed a door? What if someone broke the agreement? That's what I intend to do. I will try to close the door I opened. The entry ended. Miguel turned the page. A single sentence. Cardinal Jean-Baptiste Martin de Montmorency died at 62. Cause, suicide. Set himself on fire. Witnesses say he was laughing as he burned. Silence. Anna closed a door. So what happens now? Miguel pulled out another file. More recent. The name made me freeze. Maria Santos. Case 2021-034. The The first one. Miguel nodded. I said she died, but I didn't tell you everything. He opened the file. Photos. An 8-year-old girl contorted, but her eyes were wrong, as if looking from an impossible angle. The exorcism lasted 9 days, but I could have stopped on the 3rd. Should have. But I started seeing things, and part of me wanted to see more. He was crying. So I continued, even seeing that I was destroying her, because I was learning. It was fascinating and horrible. It was like discovering my whole life had been on a small stage, and suddenly I could see the vast theater around it. And Maria. She was just the vehicle. The door. On the 9th day she was empty, not dead. Worse, everything that made her Maria had been consumed, drained like fuel. So you killed a child to satisfy your curiosity? No. I didn't understand until it was too late. I thought I was helping, but there was no possession. The exorcist and the entity were working together, using Maria as a bridge. After she died, Father Antonio explained, said that some exorcists become compromised, work for the other side without realizing it. They sent me for recalibration, trying to make me forget. But you didn't forget. No, fragments remained, and with each new exorcism, more came back, until I began to see the pattern. It wasn't about saving people. It was about opening doors, being the butcher. A sound made us freeze. Footsteps, multiple footsteps. The door opened. 3 figures, red cardinal robes, all old. The one in the middle spoke in perfect Italian. Father Miguel, we feared you would come here. Once an exorcist begins to question, so it rarely ends well. Cardinal Rossini, are you going to kill us? Rossini shook his head. Kill? No, that would be inefficient. Even if you leave, even if you try to tell, who would believe? It would be dismissed as delusion. Then why are you here? To offer a choice. You can forget. A simple procedure. We adjust some memories, and you can return to work without the weight of knowledge. Or you can remember. But if you choose that, you must understand, you can never leave this work. Once you see the doors, you become a door yourself. The entities can sense you, and eventually they will. The only way to keep them away is to continue opening doors in a controlled manner. You're saying he has to choose between a lobotomy and slavery? We're offering the same choice humanity makes every day. Comfortable ignorance or painful knowledge. Most choose ignorance. And if we refuse both? Rossini smiled joylessly. Then you join the others who refused, those whose names are in these archives, and you learn that some systems are too old to be destroyed. Anna ended differently. She closed a door. The cardinals exchanged glances. Concern. Yes, Ana Santos, an anomaly. The first in centuries to actually close a door. Do you have any idea of the imbalance that caused? The hunger that flowed through that door needs to go somewhere. And without control it will search, it will find the nearest souls, those who have already been exposed. He looked directly at us. Souls like yours. And that's when the memories returned. Not in fragments. Everything. All 9 days. And I understood. Anna hadn't just closed a door. She had turned us into doors. 15 years later, 15 years since that night. I'm writing this because I finally understood. Anna sought me out that night because I was already marked. She was waiting for me. She wasn't possessed, she was hunting. You need to understand, doors don't open from just one side. When you stare into the abyss stares back. And the abyss was already watching. Had already chosen you. Miguel chose to forget. Accepted the procedure. Yesterday I received a letter from him, cheerful, mundane. He talks about baptisms and communions, about the beauty of faith. There's no pain. He's happy, whole, but empty. I chose to remember, and for 15 years I've been doing the work, performing the exorcisms, opening the doors. 63 cases, 63 souls I passed through that door. But today is different. Today I received a phone call. A family in Boston, a 17-year-old girl. Strange behavior. Unknown languages. The address was familiar, it was my childhood home. And the girl's name was Sarah Weaver, my niece, my sister's daughter, a girl I held as a baby, who called me Uncle Tommy. And that's when I understood the final truth. The doors don't feed on strangers. They feed on connections, on love, on bonds. Each soul I passed through that door created a link. And now, the hunger has arrived at the only place that still mattered. I could refuse. Let another exorcist take the case. But then the door would open through me uncontrollably, and Sarah would be consumed anyway. At least if I go, I can try to control it. Who am I kidding? There is no control. There never was. Anna knew this. That's why she closed the door, not to save herself. She closed it to turn me into one, to ensure I would arrive here, at this moment, at this choice. The game was never about possession, it was about succession. I'm in the car now, driving to Boston, to my niece. I can feel the hunger pulsing through me, the entities moving in anticipation, because that's what they really feed on. Not souls, destroyed love, broken faith. The moment when someone who dedicated their life to good commits the ultimate evil against those they love most. That's the true sacrament. Miguel once asked me if I still believed in God. I said yes, but the question was wrong. The question should have been, does God still believe in me? And as I drive through the night with the smell of sandalwood and sulfur already filling the car, as I can feel the doors inside me beginning to creak open, as I see in the rearview mirror something that shouldn't be in the back seat but is, smiling with Anna's face, but with eyes that were never human, I realize the answer doesn't matter anymore, because in 9 hours I'll be in Boston. In 10 hours, I'll be at my childhood home. And sometime after that, my niece Sarah will look at me with completely black eyes and say my name the same way Anna said it 15 years ago, and I will open the door, because that's what doors do. They open. Found on Thomas Weaver's laptop, discovered in his abandoned car on Route 90, Massachusetts. The vehicle was in perfect working condition. No signs of struggle. Thomas Weaver remains missing. Sarah Weaver was found at home 3 days later, healthy and with no memory of any illness. When asked about her uncle, she said, "What uncle? I don't have any Uncle Tommy." Ordination records for Thomas Weaver were found, but all photographs show only empty spaces where a person should be. Father Miguel Cordero, when questioned, said the name wasn't familiar to him. When pressed, he smiled. There's no such thing as a man becoming a door. That would be ridiculous. But at night, in parishes around the world, young priests still receive phone calls, still drive to isolated houses, still open doors that should never be opened, and sometimes late at night they wake up with the smell of sandalwood and sulfur, and they know they've been chosen. They know they were always doors, just waiting to be opened. Remember, there are things you shouldn't see, but once you see them you realize they've always been watching you. And you who made it to the end of this story, what would you do in Thomas's place? Would you choose to forget and live in peace, or remember and carry the weight of knowledge? Is there really a choice when both options lead to destruction? And the most disturbing question, how many doors do you know without knowing?